You ever find yourself digging through old boxes of forgotten childhood relics? Maybe some dusty GameCube disc or an old PS2 memory card, and suddenly, bam, you remember a game you swore the world forgot. That's Ty the Tasmanian Tiger for me. I'm talking Aussie Outback action, boomerangs that freeze, burn, and electrocute your enemies, and tiger protagonists with a heart of gold and an accent thicker than molasses. This wasn't just another mascot platformer trying to surf the waves of Crash or Jak and Daxter. This was a game that had its own flavor, its own weird charm, and now Chrome Studios gave it the AC remastered treatment. It's time to look back and ask, was it all nostalgia vibes and boomerang smoke, or is it something worth still discovering in the wild, wacky world of Ty? So grab your bush hat and sharpen your fangs. It's time to complete Ty the Tasmanian Tiger.
Let's do this.
Okay, Ty, I'm in. Catch me if you can.
So, this setup. Classic early 2000s platformer energy. You play as Ty, a Tasmanian tiger raised by bilbies after his family disappeared into another dimension called the Dreaming. The villain, Boss Kaz, a nefarious cassowary who wants to unleash chaos in using a nature talismans, and yes, he has a mad scientist vibe if you did not know, and a cadre of ridiculous animal goons to back him up. It's got that Sunday morning cartoon pacing where every zone is a new excuse to explore the outback and recover magical MacGuffins, all to save your friends and eventually reunite your long lost family. It's not Shakespeare, but it has its charm. There's a clear love for Australian culture here, and Cranky is soaked it in. You got a Dreamtime mythology, boomerang lore, platypus sidekicks, and kooky lingo straight out of a Crocodile Dundee flick. It's lighthearted and accessible, while the stakes feel low compared to modern games. That works in the game's favor. It's a game that works to make you smile, and most of the time, it does.
Beauty! Butler! Bonza! I got one!
At its core, Ty the Tasmanian Tiger is a collectathon. If you've played Banjo, Kazooie, Spyro, or even Mario 64, you know the drill. Run around centering open worlds, collecting thunder eggs and free cage bilbies, chomping enemies and unlocking new powers to explore further. Where Ty mixes things up though is the boomerangs. So instead of like powers, you get different types of boomerangs. These are your main tools, and you'll eventually get access to an elemental boomerang called the fire ring, or ice rings, or thunder rings, or technology ones like the zoomerangs or the aqua rings, and they all have their own unique abilities. It's kind of like Ratchet and Clank in the weapon system. Each of these help with combat and puzzle solving. The levels themselves are fun to explore, except maybe like 3 of them, which are very big, so if you forget one collectible or one tiny thing on these maps, you generally will have to spend hours, if not freaking days, searching for the one thing that you missed on this very big level and landscape, which can cause issues, but that's just me. The levels consist of lush rainforests to dusty deserts to snowy mountains. Each stage has enough variety to keep things fresh, and the platforming does feel tight, and Ty's chomping attack does feel satisfying. With the swim mechanics aren't too shabby, which is kind of rare, but they can get a little wonky due to the camera. And the boomerang system lets you be creative, and boss fights aren't gonna blow your mind either, but they're goofy fun and rarely frustrating. It's not a game that's going to reinvent the wheel, but it's a love letter to a certain kind of game design that we don't get much of anymore, and that's what makes it kind of special. So let's talk about how the game looked, and for something originally from 2002, that holds up surprisingly well in this remaster. The art style is colorful, bold, and stylized in a way that dodges the uncanny valley entirely. The environments have a Pixar-light aesthetic with exaggerated features that almost clay-like texture you see in older platformers. It makes the whole game feel like a playable cartoon. The remastered visuals give it a fresh coat of paint though, especially the lighting, water effects, and Chrome Studio did a solid job preserving the original vibe while sharpening it for modern systems. Sound-wise, the voice acting is campy, but in the best way. and Ty's Aussie slang is delightful, and the cast leans into their characters with gusto. The soundtrack is catchy and whimsical and full of didgeridoos, guitars, and an environmental ambience that matches each biome perfectly. It may not stick in your head the same way Mario themes do, but it complements the gameplay really well. Okay, from a standpoint of completing the game, Ty isn't the most brutal game out there, but it is thorough. You don't need to collect every last Thunder Egg, every Golden Cog, every Bilby, and even race your way through time trial rings to unlock everything. Some of those collectibles are hidden in the most obscure corners of maps, and the game doesn't give you the greatest guidance on where to look. Getting 100% means revisiting older levels with newly unlocked boomerangs and remembering which puzzles you couldn't solve before. There is a bit of backtracking, but nothing too tedious. Still, the camera again can be finicky, especially in tighter platforming sections or underwater areas, which can make some precision jumping a little frustrating and finding certain things in the water a little bit annoying. Overall though, if you're willing to put in the time, completion is doable without breaking your spirit. So, what do you get for going the extra mile? Well, aside from the warm fuzzy feeling of saving out back and forth, there are a few solid bonuses. One, you unlock the true ending, which gives you a setup for the sequel, which is going to come at some point on this channel, so stay tuned. And two, you get the awesome Chrono Ring, which slows down time on enemies when you hit them and makes you feel like some type of superhero. And it's not the most mind-blowing reward, but it's satisfying and it gives you a reason to flex on the game, especially if you just unlocked everything in this game. So, try to come back and be like, I am the greatest. Also, just unlocking every boomerang and seeing Ty at full power is a reward in and of itself. There's something deeply satisfying about having a full utility belt of rings at your disposal, like some type of secret agent / superhero. Know what I mean? Okay, let's get real for a second. Ty the Tasmanian Tiger isn't perfect. The camera controls can be clunky. Some missions feel like filler designed more to pad out your collectathon rather than add meaningful gameplay. And while the voice acting is charming, it can get grating if you're not vibing with the style. The remaster helps smooth out a lot of the rough edges that you can clearly see are from the PS2 era, but the bones of an early 2000s platformer design are still visible. And that's both a strength and a weakness. If you're someone who grew up with this kind of game, it's like coming home, but if you're expecting something tighter and more modern, it might not click for you. That said, Ty the Tasmanian Tiger is a gem. It's not a revolutionary game, but it doesn't need to be. It's earnest, colorful, and bursting with personality. It sits comfortably in that sweet spot of nostalgia and genuinely solid gameplay. The Defeationist journey is fun without being punishing, and for fans of the genre, it's an easy recommendation. That being said, I would like to thank the lady who recommended this game to me, and I'm glad I was able to play it, considering this was a blind playthrough of me playing this game. Thank you guys, and let's go on to the ratings. I do have something new for you guys. This game gets my Defeationist rating of Survive It.